我们都在黄光烈烈的站起来，站起来。Welcome to the 292nd edition of China Now with your gang of two. Nan Su, who is the senior investigative reporter for Epoch Times, and yours truly, Michael Olson, who long ago was dissuaded from becoming a China hand by the great helmsman himself, Mao Zedong. Each week, Nansu and I look out across the broad expanse of the Pacific Ocean from our home port here at SantaCruzVoice.com and ask, China now, friend or foe, war or peace? Ni hao, Nansu.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are.
And we are everywhere. So, big day for the Chinese Communist Party yesterday.
Yes, July 1st, it's the anniversary. So, 105 years of establishing the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP. That was a big day in China. So then they have a lot of celebrations, all the big red, middle red, the little red, all the reds that came out and then celebrate the establishing of the CCP for 105 years.
I guess it's almost like Christmas in America.
Yeah, something like that. No, not for all the Chinese people. There's a lot of Chinese people don't feel happy and they don't come out. Of course, all these party oriented all party members they came out and they had a
Mhm.
national banquet and Xi Jinping talk about things, so on and so forth.
And there you go. So, 101 years?
105.
105 years they established. When did they took over in 1949?
Uh-huh.
So,
Well, talk over that was the established the communist regime in China. That's
right,
they took over the country.
right.
Now, that celebration is the National Day. That's on October 1st. Now,
Okay.
yesterday was the establishing a Chinese Communist Party.
Party. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And this was probably something they did up in the hills when they were running from the Guomindang.
Well, it was a secret. It was a secret meeting it was the very first national conference of the CCP. At that time, they only have, I don't know, 20, 30 members.
Right.
And then they got money from the Soviet Union. So at that time it's Far East branch of Soviet Union's Communist Party. So
It was like a franchise.
yeah. Well, they officially they are uh they're not, they basically selling China to the Soviet Union. That's what it is. At the very beginning, they got the money, and then they had money. They start is from Soviet Union. They build up this. Uh, Keep in mind, all the communists. Communist movement is a global movement. They're
Right.
all globalist. They have no country. Like Karl Marx said, and the workers without work.
Workers of the world unite.
Yeah, work. Yeah, they don't care about the country. They don't care about the culture. They are all united under one culture. That's communism, right?
If that's the case, are the communist parties of Russia or whatever it is now these days, Russia and China still together, or have they separated with the fall of the Soviet Union, or how does that work today?
Well, they don't have a part, the Communist Party of China and then the Communist Party of Soviet Union, they broke up a long, long time ago at the beginning of the 60s, right? So they never reestablished their relation. And that's why I keep saying There are people saying that we can drag China away from Soviet Union, from Russia, just like we were able to drag China away from Soviet Union in the 70s. I say no, no, you don't drag them away. The U.S. Government's China policy never dragged China away from former Soviet Union. They broke up from each other in the early 60s.
Do you remember exactly what precipitated that breakup?
It was the reform of Khrushchev, right? After Stalin. Remember, after Stalin
So after
died,
Stalin died, Khrushchev took over, and
yeah,
Khrushchev
Khrushchev.
says, "We're done with that Stalinism stuff."
That's right. When they started process, so Chairman Mao basically say, well, they are walking away from communism. They're not no longer communism anymore. It was Khrushchev started a bunch of economic reform in Soviet Union, trying to get their economy back. And also they say we're done with all these Stalin stuff. So and Chairman Mao didn't like it. So they in the 61 somewhere, in the 2 years of 61 or 62, the CCP published a total nine commentary. I believe that's from September of 61 to July of 62. So that 10 months, they published a total 10 articles from the mouthpiece of CCP. Uh, and then it's called Nine Commentary of Soviet Union's corrective way, something like that. Basically, I just doing the translation from Chinese to English, not the official translation. But basically, that's a series of nine articles that criticizing Khrushchev, and then that's the total breakdown of the relation between CCP and the Soviet Union Communist Party.
Was
So they
this was this breakup before or after China got the bomb from Russia, Soviet Union, got the atomic bomb?
No, China didn't get an atomic bomb from Soviet Union. China
Oh,
China get a bomb from us, from United States.
I did not know that.
Okay, now they did not get the bomb directly from us, but what happened is China get one of the top scientists who originally actually belonged, who originally he was one of the uh, top scientists in the nuclear program in the United States. China got that one back to China, so that's how they got that got their got their atomic bomb, and then also they got their design and shoot their first satellite to the sky. So that's what it is. Not that they didn't get that from Soviet Union.
Hmm. Given that history, do you think that China and Russia, China and now Russia, have that real strong bond that they once had when they were both fledgling communist countries, as it were?
Well, they basically Chairman Mao did not think ever since the 61, 62, they did not think that the Soviet Union was even a communist nation anymore. So that's why they broke up, and then also Chairman Mao want to take the leadership of the global communist movement. That's kind of a more or less a personal ambition too. So they never get back to each other until the early 90s, almost like immediately after the fall of former Soviet Union. and then now that's 1991, right? The fall of Berlin Wall. It's what? It's 89 or 90, and then and also China had what? China had a Tiananmen Square in 1989.
89.
Yeah, so that was almost immediately after that they start getting back together. That's a long history. So from 1989 to what 2024, which was just the year before last year that when Trump won the second election, you heard a bunch of people start talking about, oh, let's go drag Russia away from China. It's just too late. Come on, guys, need to think longer. They get back together ever since 1990.
Yeah.
And then now they say, oh, well, just give them some, American market, American world, whatever technology. It doesn't work that way. So, that's why I say, keep saying, I don't mind people trying that, but just don't pay too much for that. It just, it doesn't add up.
No. Well, what does add up is that China is supporting Russia in its war against Ukraine.
Yes,
And I have a
yeah,
sneaking,
that's it. It's a united front work basically. It's the growing ever you see this is remember we keep talking about ever since the mid 90s China start the unrestricted warfare against the United States. But now but if you look at
mid-90s. So we've
yeah,
been at war with China since the mid-90s and didn't even know it.
yeah, and but however, you see the starting point of the preparation. From the angle we talk about the China-Russia relation, that's even earlier. See, right after the former Soviet Union collapse, China already outreached to Russia, to start re-establish a lot of a relation. They used to they closed their border from each other.
Yeah.
So now but right after that, they start, opening for trade, for energy, and then in the 90s, they signed a border agreement. There's because remember that's the people talk about all the fake news talk about, oh, China are going to invade Russia to take some of the territory back. No, it's final. So they signed a series of border agreement, and the last one it was finalized. I forgot, probably 2020. I'm sorry, 2003 or 2004. So all the border agreements between Russia and and China basically they all settle, between 1990 and 2003. So that's how they start moving forward. And then in 2019 they push forward the 5R currency reserve for the BRICS country, which is the joint effort for the
So they got
de-dollarization
they got back
against.
together again
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
order
So it's
to
it's a long history,
yeah.
and then only Americans are in dreams, we doing all this wishful thinking.
And the love.
Like what they did. They say, well, we'll make investment in China. We will have China reform, and we will make China become a democratic nation. That didn't work. So
But
come on,
on the
guys.
contrary, what really happened is that China and Russia got back together, formed the basis of the BRICS relationship in order to compete with us or
No,
unrestricted
no, no, no. They
warfare.
are involved with us. They're not competing with us.
It's war,
When you're talking about
unrestricted war.
right, when you talk about the competition, that's how the people start talking about the rules and regulations. No, they're involved with us. They don't care about the rules and regulations. When you deal with China, you never think about rules and regulations. That's why we have been wrong in all these years. Like, there's no rules and regulations.
There you go. Well, okay, let's turn to events in the world and especially give a quick look at Iran, which is the current hotspot. Why should we look at Iran when we're talking about China? Because Iran is China, in my estimation. Yours, non?
Oh yeah, of course. They are the Iran, China, and Russia. North Korea. That's always there. That's the newly emerging. Still growing. Continental power with the only one purpose: share share one only shared common purpose for all these countries. It's anti-United States. So that alliance is it's built basically not based on the common ideology, but based on the common enemy. The talks are going on now. I think that something huge we need to realize. The ongoing talks here in the Middle East, we talk about, it's not only between United States and Iran. If we only look at things, look at what's happening in the Middle East, if we only looking at the U.S. Iran talk, you miss the whole game. There are three talks over there. There's one that's between United States and the GC nations. The second one is between Lebanon and Israel. The third one is between United States and Iran. All three are going at the same time. We often see, lately, I think that the media has been picking up the difference between Mark Rubio and JD Vance, and they say, oh, Trump administration, they're debating inside between among themselves, among the top leadership circle. No, it's not. They're not debating each other, but there are difference among the standpoint of GC nations, Israel, United States, and Iran. It's a huge effort. You have to look at all of them together, look at how they're trying to reform the future of Middle East. So basically, you see the difference between when they talk about those things, you see the difference between JD Vance and Mark Rubio. Basically, when Marco Rubio talk about it's because he lead the negotiation between United States and GC nations, which
What
he
GC? What is GC?
Gulf co cooper
Okay, good. Gulf
Gulf
Cooperative. So these are like
cooperation.
all the Gulf nations.
That's right, Gulf nations, and then that Marco Rubio just came back, right? Just come back
Right.
on June 25th, and then on June 20th, on there was on June 25th, the State Department. If you look at the website, there's they published the joint statement following the ministerial meeting of the United States and the Gulf Cooperation Council. Yeah, GCC, right? So now that's one. And then there is on June 26th, there is a trilateral framework between the United States of America, the State of Israel, and the Republic of Lebanon. So that's the second.
Right.
Now, these two negotiations have been led by Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is leading these two efforts in the Trump administration, and when then you have the 14 points MOU between United States and Iran that's basically signed basically by the team led by JD Vance. So you see that there's a huge difference among the three agreement. So especially the agreement, the Lebanon Israel agreement, which was described by Mark Rubio as the beginning of the beginning. So there's a long, long way to go. The beginning of the
Well,
beginning. It's not even begin, basically.
if there is a grand strategy involved in the Trump administration's efforts to weld something together in the Middle East, would it not be along the lines of the Abraham Accords?
I think that's the general direction, how they try to push that. Eventually, they want all these GC nations to establish the formal diplomatic relation with Israel.
Yeah. So
But there's a lot of differences over there need to be resolved. If you look at that, uh,
history of the cultures. Oh, yes, there's a lot to unpack there. But but the unifying thesis beyond the Abraham Accords is that here you have three of the world's great religions that all stem from one person, and that would be Abraham. And therefore, why can't we all get along?
well, whatever, I hope they're going to go somewhere eventually. But if you look at that, there's a huge difference among the two agreement with the one MOU, basically three agreement. So if you look at that, the joint statement of signed by Mark Rubio and the GC nation foreign ministers, they still talk about, that Iran cannot have a ballistic missile, because they've been hit, right? So they cannot Iran cannot have a ballistic missile,
No proxy armies,
no proxy armies, and
no.
no drones.
Okay.
All these things, they are not even written in the 14 point MOU, right? So they still want that. And then also they want Israel to totally withdraw from Lebanon. And they want, of course, they also want Iran stop support Hezbollah. And then they also want
Lots to
the
work out there.
formal establishment of Palestine as a nation.
Uh-huh.
So there's a lot of those things. And then you have uh, then you have the agreement between Lebanon and Israel, which basically saying, you know, uh, the Lebanon is going to give up all of its arms, while the same time the Hezbollah did not. Not the Lebanon is going to give its arm. The Hezbollah is going to totally give up, give its arm up. So they unarm itself, which the Hezbollah did not even join that negotiation. They're
Right.
not part of the negotiation. Basically, it's the Lebanese government and U.S. government that signed the agreement. And then you have looking at the 14 point MOU. Then the really the main point, the main interest of the United States it's to have Iran to give up its nuclear weapon program. So how these things are going to come together. I'm kind of like you know
Yeah. Well, they're not going to come together for the next few days because the Iran talks have been set aside because Iran is going to have a funeral for the Ayatollah Khamenei from July 4th to July 9th. They're expecting 15 to 20 million people to attend this funeral service. And uh,
I don't. I see. This is the issue, right? They arrange that on July 4th.
right, okay.
So
So it's
that's
in your face,
yeah,
America.
yeah. So I that's why, I mean, are they going to formally have a war with us after that? Is that why they symbolize that? I don't know.
Well,
Uh,
hard telling, isn't it? Well, nobody knows. And all of this is up in the air, and we're negotiating. And the pattern seems to be that we have these talks, everybody settles down, and then the IRGC goes and shoots up a tanker, and then the U.S. retaliates and shoots up Iran, and then we get back to the talks and it quiets down a little bit, and then the process repeats itself, and thus we're going to have what, 60 days of this or something like that, and as we try to work things out. But that is the status. We're in a cycle. We've taken time out for the Ayatollah Khamenei. You made mention of the fact that not everyone in China is supportive of the Chinese Communist Party. Do you think that everybody in Tehran and neighborhood is going to get together and support the Ayatollah Khamenei's funeral procession? Or do you think they have a choice? Show up or what? I don't know.
I don't know, I don't really give a lot of hope, because the negotiation has been going on ever since the ceasefire, what was that, April 8th?
Yeah,
I didn't see
goes
many.
on and on.
Yeah, it's on and off, but it's a negotiation between United States and the Iranian regime, and the people we're counting on, say Iran, the Iranian people that they want a new future of Iran, they didn't really show up. They didn't do much, so I don't think we can count on them.
Okay, with that, we're going to take a quick break. This is Trending Now with your gang of two, Nansu and Michael Olson, and you. When we come back, we're going to talk about the little airplane that crashed into the big building in downtown Beijing. Ooh, stay tuned.
It's time now to repair or replace your roof. Hi, folks. Warren Knox here of Knox Roofing. Well, we install leak-proof and fire-proof roofs. Roofs that look nice with a lot of choices of colors and styles. Gutters, skylights, insulation, and roof decks. We only install proven products with warranties unmatched by anybody. Financing is always available, and we have discounts for veterans and seniors. Do business with Knox Roofing, and you'll also receive a free Knox Garden Box. The number to call again is 831-461-0634. Thanks, folks.
Attention investors. This is a simple commercial on the investment value of gold. Gold continues to make new highs. In good markets and in bad markets, you need to have your portfolio balanced with gold. Learn about owning physical gold or getting a gold-backed IRA. Make this simple call right now.
800-414-1657. 800-414-1657. That's 800-414-1657.
Sponsored by Reagan Gold.
It's high time to celebrate the opening of the new Hook Outlet Dispensary, 1129 Mission in Santa Cruz. Get in on the opening fun and really low prices on the Hook's unmatched selection of top-quality medical and recreational cannabis flower, vapes, drinks, gummies, and concentrates. The Hook Outlet is now the West Side's source for finest cannabis at the lowest prices. Get in on all the opening fun and low prices at the all-new Hook Outlet. HookOutlet.com for details and deals.
Charlie Hong Kong is here to nourish you with our healthy noodle and rice bowls, abundant with local organic produce grown in nutrient-dense soil, as well as soups, sandwiches, salads, and our special ginger lemonade. All are welcome to enjoy our patio or to go. Order in person or online, corner of Soquel and Seabright. Charlie Hong Kong, nourishing our community one bowl at a time.
Welcome back. This is China Now, the gang of two, Nansu and Michael Olson. Nansu, I have a question for you. Have you ever read or watched the movie Lord of the Rings?
Yes, I did, but it's a long time ago. Yeah. That movie was it's a series, right? It's a series a long time ago.
Well,
Yeah.
there were four books actually involved
Okay.
in the series. But at any rate, something happened in Beijing that called the Lord of the Rings home to me. And that was when a small airplane, piloted by one Liu Junhua, crashed a small trainer airplane, general aviation airplane, into a skyscraper in downtown Beijing. Now, a couple things about that caught my attention. Of course, we're all reminiscent of what happened to us on 9/11 when airliner armed terrorists crashed airliners into skyscrapers in throughout the United States. Boom. That was quite a thing. And the other thing that caught my attention, the reason it caught my attention is that I am a private pilot. And to see what Liu Junhua did with her little trainer was quite amazing to me because she was a member of a flying club in Beijing, which is a bunch of people get together and share expenses on the airplanes, and they can fly around. Now, the thing about being a private pilot means that you have the ability to hop in an airplane and fly off into the sky and go wherever you want. Well, in Beijing, you can't really do it that way, so they're pretty much restricted as to where you can go. And one of the places you can't go is inside the ring roads that circle Beijing, and it's very, very controlled airspace. Well, she got in her little airplane and was doing touch and goes, which means she was practicing takeoffs and landings. And instead of coming around and doing another landing, she headed off due west toward downtown Beijing and toward Zhongnan High. Now, what she did is she crashed her airplane into the CITIC Tower, which is a 109 stories, 1,700 foot tall building in central Beijing. And the other word for it in China, it's called the China Zun, which is the Zun being an ancient wine vessel. It's incredible shaped building that stands way up tall in the middle of downtown Beijing. And the interesting thing is from this building, the top of this building, you can look right down into Zhongnan High. And with a pair of binoculars, you can watch Xi Jinping skinny dipping in the pool or something like that. It's that close to Changnan High, this giant skyscraper. So for some reason, Liu Junhua crashed her little airplane into this giant building. Now, why? The interesting thing about this building is that way back in 2018, right after it was open for business, the CCP decided that it had to rectify the building because of its ability to look down on Changnan High. So what the CCP did is it took over the top 3 floors and controlled the observation deck and the helicopter pad on top. And why I brought this Lord of the Rings up is because I looked at this building and it's like it's the Eye of Sauron. Now Sauron was the principal antagonist in Lord of the Rings. He was the evil lord, and he had an eye that overlooked everything. The Eye of Sauron. And that to me is what this building kind of seems like, because it's higher than everything, and the top 3 floors are owned by the Chinese security services, and they look down on everything and everybody. Now, why Liu Junhua crashed her little airplane into that big building was never revealed. If you do a search on this.
Beijing just published the official report today.
Oh, good. All right.
Yeah, it's a couple hours ago. Actually, just at the
Hot
minute.
off the press.
Yeah. Just the minute we start this show, I received a text message. Somebody wanted me to make a comment on the Beijing's official statement. So while they say that Liu Jinhua is a man who's lonely, living alone, by himself, and then in his diary, after his death, they
It
found.
was a her, wasn't it? Liu Junhua? It was a
Okay.
her. It was a
Oh,
her.
you're talking about different thing.
Uh,
Uh, Now Liu Junhua, early on, right after the crash, that the Beijing basically from inside Beijing there was some Twitter's account, social media platform. They basically said the corporation China something, it's a state-owned big business. Let me see what was the formal
Riddick.
English name of the corporation. Let me see.
We're searching in our deep database here on Sue's
Yeah,
cell phone.
that hold on.
Well, the company was, or the tower was called CITIC Tower. CITIC. And in
Yeah,
China,
it's called China Citibank Corporation, CNCB, CITIC. Yeah, China Citibank Corporation. That basically they own the building. So not so they are this that's their building. Now so they early on, right after the crash took place, they found that there's a high-level manager with the name of Liu Junhua. Okay,
uh-huh.
they said she is one of the top manager. It's one of the main branch of that banking group. They say that she was the one crashing into the building. That one already clear out because on the 29th, she show up in I think it was purposely arranged for her to show up, and dealing with
Oh, wait a
or
minute.
normal business.
So the person who was registered to be flying that airplane
It's the same name.
is the same name,
It's
but
the
it,
same name.
oh,
Now, not that not this person, not this person working for China Citibank.
uh-huh.
So now that right at the beginning, there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is like it's a political purpose driven." I put a big doubt. I didn't talk about that in my YouTube program because I had deep doubt because the Zhongnanhai, the Chinese leadership compound was just like less than 5 miles away from
Yeah.
his building. Now, it's a political purpose, if you're anti-CCP, why did you just go straight? Or
And crash.
you can choose. There's a lot of easy targets, other than the Chinese leadership compound. You can go to Beijing city government. Beijing, there are plenty of the government government, office target, other than China City Bank. China City Bank, except its, tallest building in Beijing, there's no, it doesn't really stand for any political um, purpose over there. Crashing into the tallest building just means you crashing into the tallest building,
So
right?
you don't see any symbolic correlation at
Well, when
all.
the early on, I thought maybe, when they say that's the, Liu Jinhua is one of is the top level managers in the China city group. I thought, it's either she got a personal problem with.
Well, that was the first rumor that I heard, was that she had a bad margin call, lost all of her money, and was going to take it out on Citic Bank.
Yeah,
That was the first thing I heard.
well, yeah, that's what I thought too. I thought either she had a problem with the company she worked for, or with her boss or with her colleague. It's very hard for me to imagine that's crashing into that building really got some political purpose behind. But then people keep talking about the political what does that reflect into political? Well, the reason people always thinking about the political meaning of this, just which is good. The intention is really people, thinking someone is going to stand up to against the CCP. That's I will give the positive some scores to that. But other than that, come on, guys, facts are facts. It's not about right or wrong. It's about true or false, right?
Well, if you were going to make a statement and you had a little airplane, it seems to me, like smashing into the regime's tallest symbol of power it was a pretty effective statement.
No,
Probably more so than
I don't
trying
think
to.
so. I don't think if the if that building is in Shanghai, I would say, well, he may have something, but that's like less than 5 miles from the top leadership compound.
That's why it makes it such a profound statement. This is that tower is the protector of Changnan High. It's got the top 3 stories are Chinese security firms. I mean, that's the eye of Sauron.
Yeah, I don't think I doubted that I didn't even know that top story that's belonged to the Chinese National Security Department before today, before you even mentioned that. I doubted that person, the pilot actually knew that.
Well, the
Uh,
pilot knew something because the pilot left the traffic pattern at the airport, turned due west, and in spite of repeated calls from air traffic control, hey, get your butt back here to the airport, kept going and in fact turned off the transponder in the airplane so it went off the radar screen and it flew directly into this magnificent building, smashed it. And what dramatic footage of an airplane falling down from the crashing into that building. I don't know. I think it was a pretty dashing move to do.
Well, it is. There's no way. No, there's no way this is not on purpose, right? It's not an
It is
accident.
whatever it was on purpose.
Yeah, it was on purpose. It was not accident.
No.
You're crashing into this huge target. There's no way. Now, now the only thing if you come up tell me that's not an accident, I would say if you come up, you prove to me that the pilot all of a sudden have a heart attack or something. He just unconscious.
No.
That's and then plus you have to be first of all you're unconscious and you lost conscience, and then number two you uh
You
still
had your
even you're
autopilot set.
unconscious now. How do you aiming? You're not aiming anywhere else. You're aiming to all of a sudden you just right into the tallest building, right? So I think
And it's not just a tall building, it's the tallest
number
building.
one, yeah, it's the
And it's
tallest
not just the
building.
tallest building, it's the building in which the Chinese security services look down on everyone, just like the Eye of
Forget about
Sauron.
the last part. I don't even know that. I don't think the pilot knew that. I think that it's on purpose, but I don't know if about what the purpose is. Now, if you ask my judgment, I think it will be something similar to now we talk about it several times in China in the recent years. especially the last couple of years and this year, that there's a lot of people driving their car, it's
Crashing, yes.
crashing on the
A lot of
street. Yeah, and then they're just they're hurting the civilian without any it was just they really
symbolic
frustrated.
rage.
Yeah.
Just
So
rage.
I think
Rage against the machine.
yeah, it's a big rage really because people will hope he'll feel disappointed or desperate. They don't see their own personal situation improve. They become uh hate the society around them. Now,
Burning up factories.
right. There's a lot of those things happening. Now, the reason those things are happening in China, part of it, of course, political system is one major reason, but also because the Chinese people, a lot of Chinese people, they're just like they're just like most of the people here in the Western world. No difference. They go to work. The 8 to 5, 9 to 8 to 5, or 9 hours, maybe even longer. When the economy collapse, they really suffer. Now, but however, there's something well, there a lot of Americans too. They don't really follow the news. There's a lot of Americans. They don't really follow the news. They just try to take care of their family.
Sure.
They right. So now a lot of
Most of us, yeah.
yeah, and then there's a lot of Chinese people that way too. Now they're not really, and then because they're not really following the news, they really not giving a lot of thoughts about the political problem of China created by CCP. So they are still living, they're still living under the propaganda. They're all heavily brainwashed. So they don't think the problem of China today, the Chinese people facing, were created by the Communist Party. So now when they
Because who would tell them that, right?
right, there's nobody telling them,
Yeah.
right? Unless well, in China, especially true because unless that you actually have to make effort to break through the firewall, that you're not going to see, you're not going to hear any different voices, right? So now when these are kind of people when their life going down the hill, when they lost their job, that maybe they lost, and when they're they see their real estate value, their property value go down the hill. I mean, in China, it's like the tier 1 city, they lost like 40% of the value, and then you go down to some of the tier 3, tier 4 cities, they lost like 60 to 80% of their real estate, their
People
property value.
lost their money.
Yeah, well, so they don't choose a target that really going after the Communist Party. So they start hurting. They hate. They really. It become an issue. They hate the society around them,
Hmm.
right? So that's how you see, in the last few years, you see that these people, they're driving the car, go ruthless. They will, there's some car in Shenzhen. The guy that he drove a utility vehicle really into a athletic field.
Yeah.
It's like a football court or something.
Just
They drove
wherever.
in there.
It's just, I'm going mad and I'm just going to step on the accelerator and run into whatever I run into.
Yeah.
But,
So
but wait a minute, this person in the airplane, this was a deliberate shot right into the heart of CCP's tallest symbol of power and
that's not
strength.
CCP simple, right? So this is just confirm what I'm seeing. They hate the society around them, but not really focus on their target on the CCP.
Well, I think that was the target. the CCP.
No, I don't think so. I think these people, they're crazy. These are the crazy people. I don't think, and
But not so crazy
see,
that you
some
can't
of the
fly an
first of all, if
airplane.
you want, if first of all if I'm the guy, I'm doing it. I'm going to make the world knows my purpose, right? If you are against the CCP, if you're really trying to stand up for to justice, why don't you let the world know what your purpose is?
Well, that's what's very interesting because everything has been scrubbed. We've heard no further news about Liu
Well,
Zhuhua.
this is the issue, right? For if you are doing this for a political purpose, this is the number one things you want to make sure that everybody knows your purpose because you put your life on it,
Uh-huh.
right? So now, so that's what make me think this is not a political purpose driven action. You
Mm.
know, he is that is why I'm thinking that there are some political meaning of it because all these people they got brainwashed, so therefore they when they make choice they're not really clear in their mind they're against the CCP, but they have kind of this complicated hatred around if you hate the CCP, at least you have some sort of political purpose, but there are people they're not really clear so that becomes very hard to say this is a political statement.
Well, it is hard because we don't know. We have no idea really because
Well,
we
the
have
thing, well, no. Hold on. The way that he did not specifically make it clear. That tells you because if you're going to put your life on this, and this is the last thing you're going to do in your life, and you're going to do it with a political purpose, you're going to make a tremendous amount of effort
Mhm.
to make
the
sure.
ultimate sacrifice to get your message across.
Yes,
But what
and
if
well, the fact, we didn't know anything. That means
but
that he's careless.
no, no, it wasn't careless. He knew exactly what he or she was doing. But what if by crashing into that tower, the Civic Tower, the lodging place for Chinese security services, for the Eye of Sauron, what if by crashing into that building, you force people to ask the question, why? And the questioning of asking why lingers longer than anything else. Lingers, had you just been fired from a job, who would care? But why did you do it? And having that question will force people to ask it again and again and again. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we do on China Now. We ask questions. Nan Su and I just disagreed on a good one, but we'll come back after this coming break for the top of the hour, and we'll have some really interesting conversations about the U.S. Congress resolution condemning Xi Jinping in a way that was totally unequivocal. And that's going to be a very interesting one.